Hello, my name is John Rose, and I got a question for you guys. What is faster than the speed of light? I'm sure the vast majority, if not every one of y'all, are going to go, nothing is faster than the speed of light. Well, everybody knows nothing's faster than the speed of light. Well, what if I told you that was wrong? Would that challenge your belief system? Would that make you think about other beliefs you might want to challenge? Well, it turns out there is something faster than the speed of light. And Einstein supposedly did this experiment with two other scientists. It's called the EPR paradox. I say supposedly because I question what I've been told about certain people, and he's one of them. Don't believe a lot of things we've been told about this guy, but nonetheless, the EPR paradox is something that's been proven again and again, more than once. And what they were able to prove is that faster than light communication really does exist. And guess where it's at, or guess what it is? Biophotons. Now do you understand why I get excited about biophotons and why we suffer hypoheliosis at abnormally low biophoton level? Don't you see? This is faster than the speed of light. It's how our cells sense we're all one. And we destroyed the biophotons with the fall of mankind. That's why we lost our golden age. They tell us about this story, but no one tells us what it is. Well, there's a scientist in Germany who's identified what it is. Take a look at the work of Dr. Fritz Albert Popp in Germany for over 40 years. He knows the more biophotons any living system has, guess what happens? The healthier they are. And then what happens if their biophotons are lower? They're sicker. Hey, should we get a biophoton meter and start measuring people? Maybe we should have one law. Everyone should have a minimal biophoton level, because now we realize once we bump those up or connected everything, we don't want anyone to pull us down. You guys are pulling us down. You got to come up, and you're going to want to come up. But no, we're happy down here. We're happy, healthy vegans. No, you're not. You're delusional if you think you're getting the best of life. What if you are only 1/3 of where you need to be? And here you are saying, I'm happy where I am, and I don't mind people accepting certain things, but when you don't even know what you're missing, golly, that's not rational thinking. That's what we call denial. And that's quite literally where we shut off our frontal lobe. And then we have a mental processing error, so we're not even able to contemplate the idea. So, how do you deal with that? Where do you go from there? Well, if you're really genuine and you're really honest and sincere about making a difference on this planet, because you've seen what your choices have made already, take 1 week out of your life, just 1 week out of your life, to see what happens when you take a solid food vacation. Remember, Tolstoy understood that self-control is where it's all at, and it begins with fasting. That's the first step. You can't go to any other steps. You can't have a higher value if you don't have the lower value. And it's not just not eating animals, it's not cooking your food too. Why? Because it destroys faster than light. Coherent sunlight energy that's supposed to make our lives vibrant in this world of paradise. It's the fall of mankind. It's how we fell from nature. It's how we opted out of nature. That's the fall of mankind. How do you opt out of nature? Well, let me see. I can take something in nature I master. I got some fire going. Now, can you make a bad application? Yes. That's why everything, all new knowledge or anything we master has a potential for evil, because we can make a bad application. And when we put something that we need in nature and something that we master from in nature, what does it do? It makes us opt out of nature. There's only one law in Rose's garden. You cannot apply the tree of knowledge to the tree of life. Simple law. Who wrote this book? I can write a simpler book than this and everyone can follow. You're in the Garden of Eden. Got two trees. One of them you got to nourish. Everything you need comes from it. The air, the oxygen, the water, the food. and the water's in the food. Take care of it. You get the sunlight. You get sleep. Just nourish that one tree. But the longer you're in that garden, another tree is going to pop up, and it's all those things you master. And it's the unwise use of those things that you master that get you kicked out of the garden. One law: leave these trees alone. It isn't don't eat from that tree. What does that mean? Oh, that drives me crazy when I hear people use these things for excuses and there's no logic behind it. What I just said has logic. Leave these trees alone. Don't put them together. Don't take something you master and apply it to your need. That's what cooking does. It doesn't make it better. Oh, but I can eat this and I can eat this, and I couldn't eat it before. Well, maybe you weren't meant to eat it. But I'm happy. I'm a happy, healthy vegan. You don't know what you're missing. Take 1 week out of your life. I challenge you. Come on, 1 week out of your life. And if you don't have a light bulb moment by then, fine, stop. But you should still start realizing how much better this is. And then when you go the distance and you start bumping up those biophotons, that's when life starts to change. That's when my life really changed. I remember when it hit me, just right down the street. I remember driving down the street and uncontrollable tears came pouring out of my eyes for about 20 minutes, and I had the biggest shit-eating grin on my face because I felt something I kind of remember when I was a kid, but man, this was intense, and it was like, wow, man, I really feel this connection. And I felt this ever since, never as strong as the first, of course. And this is the thing we're missing in life. This is why we struggle. This is why we can't feel other people's pain. And we do all the cruel and meaningful things we do. Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a great battle. They've got a serpent inside them and they don't have enough light in themselves. But let's not let them suffer. Let's help them flush out that demon, that cesspool that pollutes our blood and our thoughts and our tissues. Let's bump up the coherent sunlight energy that's keeping us from feeling the connection to everything, so we don't have to think about compassion. You don't have to show blood and gut and gore to make someone stop doing the stupid things they're doing. We shouldn't have to think about what we got to do because it has to do with one of our senses. And we lost it. And that's what the cooking does. And for you to think that you're happy, you might as well be an armadillo. If you're not in Texas, you don't know what that means. Perhaps they say, I'm not going to go there. Anyway, why suffer? Why settle? Why make one change when you really should make the next change? But I tried, it didn't work for me. Well, maybe. Didn't do it right. Or maybe there are other issues. Because what we have to understand is we've damaged ourselves and the environment and society. We know society screwed up because that's part of what's keeping us where we are. That's why we got to do downstream damage control in that area. But what we got and is what's really doing it. That's what it's our collective shadow that keeps us where we are. That's what's really making this thing difficult for us. And what a lot of people don't understand, if they think they're happy where they are and they don't know what they're missing, is that in order to change the edges of the bell, so to speak, the extreme parts of our behavior. This guy is a Satan, look what he's eating. He's eating this kind of stuff. Well, they're the extreme. And with all behavior comes extremes, and it's the other extremes that's getting us in trouble. It's the psychopaths who are in charge of this planet. It's why we have slaughterhouses now. It's why the TV commercials and the TV and the media and everything is controlling us in a way that we can't even understand. And it's a hard pill to swallow. I understand that. But there really is a red pill to get out of the matrix. And that's where the first of my three-step process comes into play. If you go down to the description box below, you'll see a link to the first step. And this is where we modify what Tolstoy would say we should do for the first step to gain self-control, which is what we need. We're out of control. We're gluttons. And do my first step, and you'll see within a week what I'm talking about. You'll see scientific proof, concrete, verifiable proof, all the proofs you need right before your eyes. And once you flush all that stuff out, once you bump up your biophotons, and once you reset your feedback system, You help heal that molested tongue that we got from decades of abuse that are used to cook food and animal products and grains, things that have opiates in it and casomorphines in it, things that are very addictive. Once we do those three main things, then we'll be in a position to say, okay, now I'll entertain whether or not I really want to lose this sensation and this feeling. Why would I want to do that? It doesn't make sense. And if you haven't done what I'm talking about, you don't know you can't even understand what I'm trying to say now. It's a revelation, but I'm trying to help you understand is once you get reconnected, once you realize what you're missing, then and then only do you need to go, maybe I shouldn't eat that. Don't even entertain the idea right now. So that's my idea. I've identified 5 main mistakes. Very few people are going to agree 100% with me on all of them. And all I'm asking is, hey, let's not make any of them for a short period of time. Let's see what happens. And then you can play detective and figure out if that was the mistake, or if that was the mistake, or 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 all of them were mistakes. I think I'm on to something here. We're not supposed to alter our food. And all the mistakes I'm talking about is when we made a bad application to our food from things that we mastered. The first thing was fire. The second thing we mastered were animals. The third thing we mastered is the agricultural revolution. And the fourth thing we mastered was the industrial revolution. So the agricultural revolution, we started eating plants we weren't biologically adapted to eat. That really set us up into a wrong path, because that's when that's what led to moving into cities. And now we're civilized, and it's almost like we're trapped in civilization. And I think maybe civilization is doomed for failure. Just like government is doomed for failure, we shouldn't have those things. That's not natural. It's not how we're supposed to be. I'm not sure how we're going to get out of this, on whether or not we'll just say, let's go back into nature and maybe, have cities we can meet and stay for a while, but always go back and live how we should be living. Who knows how that's going to go decades down the road if we ever wake up from this nightmare. Of course, if we don't wake up from it, it's all a moot point. That's why I've said over and over and over, if we don't reach the tipping point, if we don't get that 100th monkey to wash that sweet potato, then things will never change. And then to project in the future, I've realized this many times, there's just no way of knowing how things are going to be in the distant future. It's interesting to speculate whether or not we'll keep the way the system is right now. But that third mistake, again, put us on the wrong path. If we put the human existence on a football field, the third mistake happened on the 6-inch line. And that was about 10,000 years ago. That's when we started moving into farm communities, and that's when we started creating laws. This is what got us in trouble. Didn't have any laws at all before, but once we started moving to farm communities, we had to determine who owned what, and I got this and I got that. Well, halfway on down to the end of the football field here, down to the 3-inch line, is when we became civilized, about 5,000 years ago. And it doesn't represent a very big percentage of our existence. So that's why I speculated a little while ago, what's going to happen if we do get reconnected? Are we going to want to go back and everybody just saturate the free space that's everywhere and just create paradises everywhere? We've got the ability to do that. That's how we should be spending our day. Once we all get reconnected, see, we'll have a different mentality. This is what most people don't understand, is once you get reconnected, you realize for the first time that there's really only one way to better your life, and that is to make sure everything around you is the best it can be. Because when it gets better, then you're part of it, so it gets better. And now let's just think what would happen if we all had that mentality, that we all believed that if I can make everything around me better, the more I give, the more I receive. Of course, because everyone's going to be doing that. And this isn't something we got to say, this is a commandment, this is one of the spiritual laws. No, we shouldn't have to think about these things. These are automatics. It's what we do when we get reconnected. It's how we feel. So what we're talking about here is our sixth sense, and it's one of our senses. So it's not something you think about. That's the beauty about what I propose as a solution to our problems. I know we've got the wrong mentality. I know we compete for resources on an abundant planet when we should cooperate and share the abundance this planet has to offer. I know that we prey systematically upon our own species. I know there's something seriously wrong with us. I know a lot of us can make mistakes and still appear to be saints. I know a lot of us can make mistakes and still seem to be pretty happy. But look around the world. How many children die every day? This planet, if we were to compare ourselves to other planets, I'm sure there's a lot of them like ours. I'm sure the problem that we've encountered is very, very common throughout. In fact, I've contemplated on this a lot and tried to create as many different scenarios as I could about how this could be happening throughout the universe. And I'm sure, I don't know what the numbers are going to be spread out, but I'm sure we're way at the bottom. Couldn't be doing any worse than what we're doing now. We, as guardians on this planet, are pathetic. Creatures are suffering right now because of what we do. And we can make a choice just by saying, I'm not going to eat any more of them. That's a good step in the right direction. And that's the first step I took 30 years ago. But I wasn't going to settle. You shouldn't either. I kept looking and looking. I found this. I tried it. And since I'm documenting everything and monitoring everything, I can tell the difference. And then when I did my first juice fast, that's when I knew that that's the way to get going. Because even though I'd been eating healthy for a long time, I was amazed at how much stuff came out of me the seventh time I did it when I went the distance. With 3 months, I weighed, as a scientist, 45 pounds of stuff coming out of me. Only had 9 pounds of fat on me at 5.8% body fat. So when I lost 20 pounds on the scale, I knew exactly what happened. I had a big old dried up cesspool inside me that made my belly bold, had a 31-inch waist when it should have been 28, and my abs weren't symmetrical. And I couldn't wake up. I couldn't wait to wake up every morning to have a bowel movement just to see what kind of crap would come out of me. Because when that came out of you, your skin just tingled all over. And you can't help but think that how can people be happy when they don't know what they're missing? You don't know what it feels like because this stuff was put in very gradually. It's like that little drop, drop, drop effect. You know, get some clear water, put a drop of dye in it, you can see it. Put a couple more drops, different colors, you can still see it. What happens when you keep putting those drops in over and over and over? Can't even tell any difference anymore, can you? So this is what happens to us. We slowly, gradually decline throughout our lives. Sometimes we're lucky and realize we shouldn't eat animals, so we start getting back up a little bit. Or we're not declining, that's just wrong. Or we're not declining as sharply. We were going like this, but now we're going like that. Still not doing that good if you're cooking your food. There's a huge difference when you stop altering your food, especially the biophotons, because that's the faster than light communication that we're all supposed to have in ourselves to make us naturally behave better. We shouldn't have any laws at all. It all started when we moved into farm communities. God in the cities made more laws. It wasn't that long ago, in January, we passed 40,000 laws in 1 month alone. And the more number of laws there are, the more corrupt society is. So what does that tell us? Something's wrong with our species. It's obvious. Well, what is it? What's the fall of mankind? It's cooking our food. Why do we cook our food? Because we don't know any better. What precedes the mistakes we're making in the second stage of knowledge? We have false knowledge in the first stage of knowledge. And if we have false knowledge and we apply it, we make mistakes, and that's how we have problems, and that's how we end up in the dark ages. And I explain how all that works in a very simple teaching tool I created. I call it the Ultimate Schematic, and you can look down below in the description box and look at this special tool I created that uses knowledge in a way that's never been seen before. And it's so simple, a 7-year-old child can understand it. I've identified 281 pieces, and I have a schematic, and I can't write all the names up, so I just put the piece numbers there. I still haven't got my website finished yet. I apologize for not having that done yet. Well, I have all the numbers to the piece numbers, but I did a 11-part video series called The Ultimate Solution. 11-part series, 9 of those parts describe all of those 281 pieces. So you can go through painstakingly, or just go to the table of contents in my playlist file, and you can read the description of where the piece numbers are if you're wondering. But start off with the Ultimate Schematic, like an introductory tape I made, which I never intended to ever put up on YouTube. I just wanted to see what it would look like and just started playing with it and decided I was going to go ahead and use it until I did another one. And I promised to upload another video on this because I've I made the schematic look more obvious where the boxes were and the doorways were, and I even had arrows pointing so you'll understand the gateways, how they work better. And I know that sounds complicated and boring, but this is for a small percentage of people who really want to know the details. See, I realize that we're all different when it comes to knowledge, and I can't please everyone. That'd be a definition of failure. I know the type of people I'm going to appeal to the most because I'm a why guy. That's my personality. So I'm going to appeal more to that personality than any others. But I do understand how the green personality thinks, and they want the details. That's why I offer the ultimate schematic. I also know people just want to know what to do. Fine, go to my seminar. It'll tell you what to do. That's what you're looking for. Do it. And then other people want to know, well, who else does it? Well, what do I tell you there? Well, a good place to start, if you want to hear a good testimonial, is listen to the Dr. Roba interview. I'll put that down in the link below also. I highly encourage everyone to listen to the Dr. Roba interview, because this man was on day 21, and I was coaching him on my first step, a solid food vacation, over a gallon of juice every day, and his testimony is just, you got to listen to it. It's not that long. It's only about 17 minutes out of the 22-minute video I uploaded, and it's very motivating. It helps you understand what you're in for. So this is what the biggest problem everyone has. If you haven't done this before, you really don't know what you're missing. So you're really not in a position to evaluate what you're doing and what you need to do. And remember what Schopenhauer said, all truth goes through 3 steps. So if you want to ridicule me and laugh at me, you can do so, and you'll have a lot of people on your side making you think you're in the majority, yay. But remember what Mark Twain said, whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it's time to pause and reflect. In fact, the guy who turned me on to raw food in 1990, how do I want it? Well, I might as well say it. He's also the guy who turned me on to this personality test. And he told me that anytime you find people going the wrong way, or anytime you can go the opposite way most people are going, especially like at rush hour traffic or how we eat, you're always going to be better off. And being in Houston early on, when I first came here, rush hour traffic was really a bear. They've widened the freeway since, but I don't get involved in that, so I'm not sure how bad it is. But nonetheless, it says a lot about being in the majority. So right now, most vegans and vegetarians are in the minority, and they probably look at the raw food diet as too restrictive, and even harder to convince people to do. But what they haven't understood yet is that the raw vegan diet offers solutions the vegan diets don't offer. Huge difference, huge difference. Can a vegan diet get rid of scoliosis? No. Can a raw vegan diet get rid of scoliosis? Yes. Can it get rid of thyroid problems? Yes. Cooked vegan? No. The cooked vegan diet gets rid of some of the bad diseases, but not most of them, because it doesn't address the problem. Because it's still eating the wrong food. So, you have to understand the power of raw food, you have to understand the power of juicing, and you have to understand about the only argument anybody can give, well, it works short term, but it doesn't work long term. And I did a video on this just recently, where I explained that we have 2 groups of needs now we must satisfy, and that our ideal diet only works in an ideal time. We don't live in an ideal time anymore. So we have another group of needs. Our body's damaged, society's damaged. We might not be getting B12, our liver might not be making cholesterol, might not be any B12 in the environment, might not be able to make DHA. So if our body is damaged, we might not make certain level 2 nutrients. It's not an indictment on the diet, it's an indictment on the mistakes we made that damaged our body. If we live way up north and we're not getting any sunshine and we're not getting any vitamin D, it's not an indictment on the raw food diet, it's an indictment on you living in a place where we weren't meant to live. The raw food diet, the diet we are meant to eat, is a diet of people who live on islands. And they live in warm weather where you don't have to wear clothes and all your food's plentiful. You don't have to spend all day working. You get to spend your day making everything better. We should be living in paradise. And we should be productive and having fun and doing things we want to do. And if you're a workaholic and you want to be busy all day long, you can find plenty of things to do to be busy all day long. You can go beautify this river area, you can teach a lot of people, you can build things, you can do whatever you want. The thing is, you get to do what you want. And there's always going to be a lot of projects going on I can see in the future. I can just visualize what the world would be like if we'd ever wake up. That every day you'd wake up and go, what are you going to do today, John? Well, I don't know. I was thinking about going down and helping the guys down there on that new river project, heading out, going west. But I don't know. You know, got so many things I want to do. They just started this new project up. I want to make sure I see how it looks before they start it. So I'll probably go out there first and then finish up and tell those guys how it's looking. You know, we'd be doing things we like to do, that are fun to do, and would put people like me out of business. Won't need any more wellness consultants, don't need any more coaches to teach us how to live, because we finally learn how to live. So that's my ultimate goal as a wellness consultant, is to be so successful that I put myself out of business. Interestingly, that's how they used to pay the Chinese doctors long ago. As long as I don't come see you, I'll pay you. The minute I get sick, I'm not going to pay you no more. Now we got the incentive in the right spot. But it's the wrong mentality, because now we got an exchange mentality. See, this is what makes paradise so hard for most people to understand, is we've got the wrong mentality and we can't even think of things without money being involved. Why are you doing this, John? How are you making money at it? I'm not doing this to make money at it. If I wanted money, I would have had it a long time ago. I found this knowledge 26 years ago. I've devoted every minute of my life to helping people understand how important it is. And I get resistance everywhere. People are in denial on so many stages. It's disheartening at times. But you know what? More and more people are waking up. And it's so exciting to see the transformation people go through. Even if they just go to a vegetarian diet, that's really a big improvement for a lot of people. But you know what? Not for all. And even when people go to a raw vegan diet, sometimes that's not an improvement because they haven't figured out what they need to supplement. Or their body's cleansing so quickly, they're not dealing with the cleansing reactions. And I explain all that in the ultimate solution. I explain how we make mistakes, and that's what confuses us, because we build a tolerance to our mistakes, and then we derive pleasure out of making mistakes, and we don't realize they're mistakes. But those are what we call latent diseases. I call them 103s in limbo in my special teaching tool I created, so I would label it. And 103s are supposed to be in the negative C box, but now they're in the plus C box, and the C boxes are the effects. What do we got? Positive effects, negative effects. Problems are down here. So we should have a problem when we make a mistake, but we build a tolerance to it. Hey, smoked a cigarette, made a mistake, and got into the negative C box, and I coughed. Part of my feedback system shouldn't smoke cigarettes. But you know what? I smoke cigarettes so much, I don't go to the negative C box anymore. I go up to the plus C box and go, oh boy, the drugs, the nicotine, I'm not even coughing. Now that's a latent disease. Eventually what's going to happen is you're going to fall right back down into that negative C box. There's a doorway, I labeled it piece 108. So I've really tried to cover all the bases and put piece numbers and everything so we can explain this and talk about it logically. So if someone's talking to me, I can say, well, you're talking about piece 108, I understand. Is that right? Yeah, you're right. Okay, we're on the same page. So a lot of people have a hard time getting on the same page when they discuss things. And that's the purpose of my tool, saying, okay, find what your piece number is, and now you can come over and look at it. In the case of making mistakes and driving pleasure out of it, these are latent diseases. They're going to pay due eventually. Heart disease and cancer, these are latent diseases. Disease does not fall out of the sky. It doesn't just happen. It's what we did every day of our lives over and over and over, but we built a tolerance to it, and we were a negative 103, or 103's in limbo. We're a negative effect that snuck up as a positive effect. It's how we're being tricked into thinking what we're doing is okay. But eventually that disease is going to manifest and you're going to come down. Whether it's cancer or heart disease or even diabetes. And even the common cold. That's how we have a cleansing reaction. And when you go to a raw food diet, you'll also cleanse those 103s and limbos down into the negative effect box. So this is what makes cleansing a little bit difficult. I even assigned a piece number to this for a problem of knowledge. It's piece number 12. It's a lack of knowledge of understanding what the cleansing reactions are about, because many times when people eat a raw food diet, they don't understand the results. Joe McCullough is a good example. His triglyceride levels rose while he started eating fruit for the first time, not realizing, well, just because it's in my blood, getting rid of it doesn't mean it's bad. Numbers, you got to stop studying the blood to begin with. That's not what you got to focus on. Look at the lymph system. This is the piece of the puzzle they don't teach doctors. And I've gone over this many videos. Look down below if you haven't heard any of this before. Healing Secrets Revealed and Medicine is the Ultimate Tool of Control, where I explain that we have two short-term self-limited diseases and 4 long-term stages of disease. And they all have to do with our lymph system backing up into our tissues. I won't go into that in this video. I'll go into much detail in the other videos for those who haven't seen it or are interested. It's very valuable knowledge. I'll say that much about it. Most of us don't know why we get sick, and that's really what we need to do in order to make better choices. So that's what I do when I coach people. I say, look, you got to realize why you're sick. You did it to yourself. That disease didn't fall out of the sky. You earned it, and you can reverse it if you stop doing what you're doing. The tricky part, you can't change it overnight. You might have to do something temporarily. And this is where the art comes into play. That's why the ideal diet doesn't solve all of our problems. You may still have to do something because you can't change everything. You have to take insulin for a while because your pancreas has been damaged and it hasn't healed yet. It may never heal. There is a point of irreversibility, but no one knows where that's at for sure. The thing is, the body has an amazing ability to heal itself because the disease itself is not something that actually needs to be healed. It's part of the healing process. It's the remedial process. It's how the body heals itself. But we have a sick society that has people who are the worst part of the industry in control of everything, and they don't know what's going on. They name the symptoms. You don't name the symptoms for a problem that's within your control. You name the lifestyle choices you're making so you can correct it. You're eating animals, you shouldn't eat animals. You're eating grains, you shouldn't eat grains. You can cook food, you shouldn't eat cooked food. You're not exercising. You're not sleeping. Look at all the people you're around. They're all negative. You're negative. You're filthy. That's why the solution to all of our problems is a bottom-up solution. Each and every one of us plays a role when it comes to this. We all got to become the best that we can be. And that's why it's important that we try to reach the tipping point. If we can get enough of us to duplicate what Bill Bright did, we can finally get people to wake up and say, look, we really shouldn't be making all 5 of these mistakes, and we're not going to persecute anyone if they can't do it right now, but let's just do our best not to do it. And to figure it out, let's not make any of them at first. So that's where the first of my 3-step process comes into play. And again, you can go down below and look at a video that I uploaded. And as I always say, when you guys do this, you're in for a treat.